And now we have Olexiy Haran, comparative politics professor, University of Kyiv, Mohyla Academy. Good morning, sir. Delighted to have you with us. I hope I pronounced everything correctly. Now, so let's take a look at what's happening in the Sumy region and also in the Kupiansk region. I mean, this area has been sort of, going from hands to hands. I mean, people moving back and forth, right, in places such as, the villages around Kupiansk, such as Petropavlivka or others, right? I mean, I had a chance to be there, and it is quite frightening. So, what is the latest on this front?
Well, frankly speaking, I'm in a difficult situation because we agreed on different topic. Actually, we agreed to talk about 5 years of President Zelensky in power and also the problem of elections in Ukraine, because I'm not a military expert.
Well, let's talk about President Zelensky then, Professor. How would you assess his popularity levels in Ukraine at the moment, bearing in mind that there will not be an election as would normally happen if the country was not at war?
Yeah, so first of all, regarding elections, there are no grounds for having elections right now because we have martial law, we are at war, the whole country is bombarded, so basically there's no possibility to conduct elections. And moreover, according to Ukrainian constitution, under martial law, you cannot conduct elections. And President Zelensky would remain legitimate until the new president, the new parliament will be elected. So this is very clear written in the constitution. So all the talks about, problems with legitimacy of Zelensky, this is creation of Russian propaganda, and unfortunately some people in the West, who do not understand what the war is Ukraine is about, what is the war, the real war, when the whole country is under bombardment, they repeat just Russian propaganda.
Understood,
So again,
but what's his popularity like, Professor? What's his popularity like? What are the people on the street saying about his extended...
No. I'm not operating with what people say in the street. I'm talking about the results of the polls.
Right, Professor,
the results of the recent polls, they show that the popularity of Zelensky decreased, but still he has popularity of 58%. So 58% trust the Institute of Presidency of Zelensky. So I would say that this is a very high, number. And the country is at the third year of the war. And I believe that any Western politician, would envy, or president or prime minister would envy if he has such number of the popularity. However, as I said, it's decreasing, and this decrease is connected with the war of attrition and with exaggerated optimism, which was on the beginning of 2023, when we hoped for counteroffensive, but unfortunately the counteroffensive on the land front wasn't successful because we didn't receive weapons, actually. And now Russians are coming back to military issues. So Russians are trying to use this opportunity before American support, which was delayed for more than half a year, will come to Ukraine. So that's why the activization of the Russian military around Kharkiv and Sumy and some other places.
Professor, let me ask you this. Of course, when Zelensky was elected, he enjoyed tremendous support, and of course it was bound to go down. I mean, if we move back all these years, I mean, he will be difficult to recognize. I mean, such a happy occasion, completely different man. But in any case, there were talks at some point, right, about other people being able to challenge Zelensky, such as General Zaluzhny. And then he, I guess, the topic disappeared. So are there any people out there who could potentially, I'm not saying right now, but down the line, replace President Zelensky?
Look, it's very difficult to tell right now, frankly speaking, because we are talking about the elections after the war, and we don't know. Definitely, there would be a regrouping, of political forces. So it's very difficult to say right now. And basically, I believe, it's not the time when we should talk about elections. We need to care not about political games, but about defending the country. And in this situation, we should continue to remain united. By the way, there was a suggestion from opposition to have a government of national unity. Instead of elections, there is also agreement between authorities and opposition not to have elections under martial law. But there are some ideas from opposition to have a government of national unity. I wouldn't deny this idea. I don't find it bad. It could be good, but so far there are no negotiations on that issue. And when we're talking about politicians, talking about reshuffling in the cabinet, when there are different parties, it's always a problem. So,
Professor, talking about the cabinet, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have very little time left. Talking about the cabinet, there have been some reshuffles. How would you assess the cabinet as it exists now for these conditions of war?
Well, these reshuffles were not connected to what I'm saying, to creation some kind of national unity government. Actually, if we are talking about reshuffles in the cabinet, well, I need to say that unfortunately this is understandable in time of war, but too much power is concentrated in the office of the president, too much power. And basically the cabinet is losing its role. So cabinet is just responding to the demands from the office of president. This is bad, but at the same time, Ukraine remains a democracy with huge possibilities to criticize government, to criticize anybody, including myself or tvpworld. We can do that, so we can criticize everybody,
Professor,
including our president and prime minister.
One short question at the very end. You've mentioned the impact of war, of course, on Zelensky's presidency. But what is the attitude of military personnel towards Zelensky? I mean, generals, but also ordinary soldiers. I mean, now we had this different, new policies introduced, the mobilization bill and so on. So what is their approach towards the president?
No, this is difficult, this is difficult to answer because, look, we have war, right? We have martial law. So frankly speaking, it wouldn't be, we cannot conduct polling among the soldiers. It would be stupid to do that during the war. So basically we continue hear voices from the front line because, again, we are not closed society and there is still possibility to use social media. So there is a criticism of Zelensky, as I have said, but I think here we can rely again only on the polls. And regarding the polls, I would say that according to our poll, which we made, 19% of the Ukrainians, they are ready for mobilization. And I would say 35% are ready to help army in any other way. So I would say 19% which are ready for mobilization. This is quite a large figure. So we have resources. However, we need clear communication policy from the government, and including from the president.
Right.
In some cases, this communication policy wasn't very effective.
Unfortunately, Professor, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much, as always, for your insights. We look forward to seeing you soon.